Welcome everyone to another video, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at one of the most hyped Gen 5 Pokemon for PvP. And the question that we're going to answer is, how good will Mandibuzz be? And pardon my pronunciation if I do mispronounce it. In terms of its stats are where it really shines. Its Great League stats are attack of 90.4, defense of 152.7, stamina of 180, and the max product is the fifth highest if it were to be plugged into the current list of Pokemon that are available. So compared to Gen 1 to 4, it would rank fifth behind some notable ones that you would take a look. So how does this compare to some of the really tanky Pokemon? Like what's around it? So it's behind Umbreon, that has an 88.3 attack, 178 defense, 161 stamina, and behind and ahead of Cresselia, just ahead of Cresselia, and then significantly ahead of Azumarill, probably like 10%, probably 8 to 10% ahead of Azumarill. So it's extremely tanky Pokemon, like one of the best stat distributions for PvP, and it certainly has a lot of amazing potential just based off its stats alone. But stats can't save it completely. We certainly see some Pokemon like, for example, Registeel that has very poor movesets, and despite it being very tanky, is not very useful. So when we take a look at its current move pool that's been data mined, and this could completely change, it has an amazing move pool, which complements its stats very well. In terms of fast moves, it has Air Slash, which is 3 turns, 9 damage, 9 energy. It does have Stab, and it's that 3-3 split. And we see Pokemon like Skarmory. It's probably the most common example. We also see Tropius. When it's not running Razor Leaf, it's running Air Slash. Its other fast move is Snarl with 3 turns, 8 damage, 10 energy. So a little bit more energy for a little less damage. And it also has same type attack bonus. And the most common Pokemon that's used in the Great League is Umbreon. In terms of charge moves, it has quite a good variety of charge moves. Sky Attack being one of the premier charge moves, kind of in that tier if you were to watch the Giratina video, kind of in that slightly below Shadow Ball type tier, with 80 damage, 45 energy, a 1.78 DPE, 2.136 after stab. It also has access to Foul Play, semi damage, 45 energy, a 1.872 after stab DPE, and then Dark Pulse, 80 damage, 50 energy, 1.6, 1.92 after stab. And we see Foul Play and Dark Pulse on Pokemon like Umbreon is the most common. And then we see Sky Attack. The most common Pokemon are Altaria and Skarmory, and we know how amazing Sky Attack is. Its fourth move, if it is released with 4 moves, would be Shadow Ball with 100 damage, 55 energy, 1.82 DPE. And you might say, like, well, Shadow Ball's DPE is actually lower than Sky Attack, Dark Pulse, and Foul Play, but there is some quote-unquote play for Shadow Ball. Because it does do 100 damage, that's actually more raw damage for a single charge move than Foul Play, Sky Attack, or Dark Pulse. Where Dark Pulse and Sky Attack, if you were to scale it up, after stab would be 96 damage. That's 4 less, and you might say that's not a big difference, but in actual simulations, in the closed game scenario, it's one of the reasons why it sims a little bit better with Shadow Ball in some certain scenarios, because 2 Shadow Balls do more damage than 2 Sky Attacks, as an example, or 2 Dark Pulse or 2 Foul Play, when you're not able to get to that third one. So it's certainly a move that you should definitely consider and not necessarily sleep on, just because it has lower DP than the rest of the moves. Comparisons, kind of like a better Honchkrow. Honchkrow has, Peck, Snarl, Sky Attack, Dark Pulse, Psychic, and Brave Bird. Again, has like flying and dark fast moves, and then a Sky Attack and Dark Pulse, but it's really just a better version of it. I guess it doesn't have Psychic, as a potential additional coverage move. I'm not sure when you would use Psychic, but it potentially could to do some neutral damage when these other moves wouldn't do it. I can't think of an example right now where Psychic would be advantageous. Well, against like obviously like poison type Pokemon, you want to do Psychic, but limited use. So it is like a better version of Honcho in terms of its move pool. We take a look at its typing. It's a flying dark Pokemon, which is an okay typing. Wouldn't say anything too crazy. The flying and dark do make fighting neutral, which is nice as a dark type Pokemon. You're not weak to fighting moves. Dark doesn't really necessarily cover anything for flying in terms of its weaknesses. So it's weak to electric because of its flying, weak to ice because of its flying, and then weak to fairy because of the dark. And then I guess flying also covers bug as well, which is why it's not on this list. And it's weak to rock. So again, we see the common things that flying is weak to. In terms of resistances, it does lose its resistance to fighting from its flying typing because of the dark typing, but that's expected. And same thing with the bug. It does double resist ground because of flying, double resist psychic because of dark, and then resist grass because of flying, and ghost and dark. So pretty like it's not any steel typing. But it does have some slight advantages in this typing. It's certainly not the worst dual type combination out there. In terms of that's definitely not what I want to show, but I only want to show. I must have not combined this properly. But anyways, let's take a look. So the moveset that I picked, again, this is up for debate, and there's going to be lots of debate, and I look forward to doing the video deep diving the moveset once it's released in a cup. Is Snarl, Sky Attack, and Shadow Ball. And I picked this moveset simply because the numbers worked out better when I compared it against Season 1 regionals, all the Pokemon available in Season 1 regionals, versus the ones that were restricted in the meta when you go to the custom group. And then I compared it against Umbreon. I actually wanted to do the comparison with Mandibuzz first, but let's take a look at Mandibuzz's numbers first. So as a lead, or as a closer, it does, against all the Pokemon, 71.6 and 73.9 against the meta, and those are really good numbers. Definitely comparable to a lot of the top tier Pokemon. In One Shield, it picks it up a little bit more against the entire meta at 75%, and then 73.9% against the restricted meta, and then does very poorly not as well in the lead scenario at 66.7 and 60.9. And I would have to dive a little bit into the numbers to understand that a little bit better, but it is a little bit surprising that's actually the case. I guess it's wide variety of resistances that it's lacking does hurt it as the match progresses. And then Umbreon is kind of like an opposite story where it's only okay as a closer at 65.9 and 47.8% against the meta, and then 67.4 and 56.5. And then as a lead, it wins 70.5% and 65.2%. So you can see Umbreon does get better, and this is just a comparison because they're both dark type Pokemon. I could also compare it against Pokemon like Noctowl as an example, or Noctowl actually would have been a pretty good comparison, but as a flying type component, or Skarmory. But I thought Umbreon was a pretty good match since they have similar tankiness, and they're both running Snarl in this particular case in the comparison. So I'm simming Snarl, Foul Play, and Last Resort for Umbreon. In terms of notable wins and losses, so it does pick up wins against like a nice group of Pokemon like Skarmory, like Defense Deoxys, Sableye, Umbreon, and those are really nice picks. You want to kind of like, it's really nice when you're like the best of your class. It does pick up wins against Hypno as expected. It does pick up the pretty solid win against Swampert. That additional tankiness and ability to hit pretty hard is pretty valuable, and then it does pick up wins against Venusaur and Tropius because of that flying typing, and then as well with Sky Attack will do a lot of damage to those ones. But it does lose to Altaria, loses to Azumarill for the most part. Azumarill is going to look to hit that play rough with super effective damage and with same type attack bonus. It doesn't actually even need the Ice Beam to win these matchups. It loses to Bastiodon pretty hard as a flying type. That's no surprise, where that Smackdowns are doing super effective damage. Actually loses to Lucario, which is a little bit surprising and not surprising. I'm sure it would actually sim a little bit better if I was running Air Slash, because Air Slash would be neutral, but Snarl is resisted because of Lucario's fighting typing. And then loses to Lapras with Ice Shard. It probably does pretty decent against Water Gun Lapras, but probably inevitably loses that matchup as well. And then it loses to Probopass for similar reasons as Bastiodon. Those are anti-flyers, still a flying Pokemon. And then it loses to Charm users because that Charm is just going to chunk away at Mandibuzz's dark typing. And then it depends. I think it wins the lead scenario against Medicham, and then loses the 2 shield, and they tie at the 1 shield. So under this particular moveset, again, that might be a little bit different with Air Slash, but I think that you like pick up wins and losses depending if you're running Snarl or Air Slash. In terms of overall performance, its Great League stats are amazing. 5th best, 9.9 out of 10. Really, I had to preserve. I wanted to give it 10, but I had to preserve that 10 for Bastiodon, or for a Pokemon that's going to be better than Bastiodon in terms of Great League stats. Its typing, not terrible, but not great either. 7 out of 10. It does pick up 2 double resistances, which are really nice in Psychic and in Ground, which makes it like really a really big threat against those Pokemon that rely on ground damage. In terms of moves and matchups, its move pool is amazing. Actually, probably should rate that a little separately than its matchups, but that kind of translates to the matchups. As a lead, we saw as the shields progressed, its performance deprecate. But in the closing scenario, it actually does fairly well, winning 70% plus matchups in against all Season 1 regional Pokemon and in the close game. Its overall rating is an 8.5 out of 10. Some people might say that's low. I did give I think I gave Giratina a 9 out of 10. So I kind of have to go with that particular benchmark. But it's going to be an amazing Pokemon. It does lose some key matchups against in the restricted meta, which I think it does hurt it. But its wide variety of move pool and its potential moves that it could run leaves you kind of guessing, which I think if I were to look back at it again, might bump the rating like to 8.75. I wouldn't necessarily put it on par with Giratina, but it's going to be an amazing Pokemon. It's definitely going to be ones that you must have, and that it's going to be used in almost any cup that it is available in, especially with its wide and diverse move pool. So anyways, I'm going to leave it there. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see everyone in the next video.